And welcome to another edition of Spits and Suds. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Thank you so much for listening and supporting Spits and Suds. We are proudly presented by the On-Time Experts. Sean Shapiro, the greatness of Sean Shapiro, will join us in just a moment, but let's talk about the On-Time Experts. And the weather is changing. So with the weather changing, it's time that you make sure that you are getting full optimization regarding your HVAC system. So why not choose the official HVAC and plumbing sponsor of Spits and Suds, and also the official HVAC sponsor of the Dallas Stars. That's right. They are supporting local hockey in DFW. They will show up on time. It's guaranteed. You don't have to wait days. I promise you. There's like a 4-hour window that you can choose from. They're going to follow up. They're going to call you. They're going to show up on time. They are going to be properly presented, properly dressed. They are going to give a thorough inspection, and they are going to optimize your system. And if you go online right now, you can still use that coupon. They will tune up your system. They will completely clean your system for $59. That's an amazing, absolutely amazing deal. So make sure that you support the On-Time Experts at theontimeexperts.com. Speaking of the experts, let's bring on our Spits and Suds expert. He's our Stars and NHL insider. He also has a great Substack. It's called Shap Shots. He writes for D Magazine. He also supports EP Rinkside, which is a terrific publication. I feel like I'm using it on a daily basis. Obviously an author with Stephen Meserve. We win here. My goodness, Sean Shapiro, busy time of year for you, buddy.
Yeah, it is super busy. It's on top of that. Happy Halloween to everyone listening and everyone thing like that. We're squeezing this in to today before I'm taking the kids out trick-or-treating tonight.
Yes.
So happy Halloween to everyone out there, and busy is an understatement, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to go to Halloween as Thomas Harley's real estate agent after that latest contract. Super happy for him. I thought it was a really good deal for both sides.
Yeah, I think it's from a Stars perspective, it's really good that they got it done early, I think, because I have a feeling that there was going to be if he has the year we expect him to kind of have, and the impact and everything like that, and then he goes to the Olympics with Team Canada and has a strong showing there. Market-wise, I have a hard time believing Thomas Harley is
Yes.
playing for anything less than $11 million.
Yep.
So I know good on the Stars to get it done early, because I think as much as you can say from like Harley's camps, like, oh, we want to be part of this team and get it done and everything. Once you allow your market value to keep rising, it's hard to come back down sometimes. So good on the Stars for getting it done early like this. Also, I mean, good for Harley. It's a nice, solid 8-year deal. It's nothing to sneeze at. And I don't know. It's, to me, Gavin, I think we should talk about the potential Jason Robertson impact in a moment here. But first, we should talk about Thomas Harley, because I think for Harley, I think it's a deal that both fits with kind of the ethos of what the Stars have done, where there's probably about 4 or 5 players on this team playing a little bit below their market rate. Mikko Rantanen, probably the biggest name, where to kind of make things to keep this core together in Dallas. And then the other thing and Harley's still getting paid like a number 1 defenseman, even though he's on a team with Miro Heiskanen. So I think it's a really good deal for both sides. And I think that I'm fascinated, honestly, to see where this kind of goes and keeps the ball rolling for the next big one with the Jason Robertson thing. And it's impossible not to talk about that right now, because now that's the big we have an idea of what the cap picture looks like for the future after this Harley deal.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is he has no money 30. And I wonder how much is that negotiated into deals like this, because the first 2 years of actually the first 3 years, 26, 27, 27, 28, and 28, 29, there's actually no modified, no trade. There's nothing.
He's not eligible for them.
Okay,
in those
good.
first
Thank you for telling me that.
He is, because those would still be restricted free agency years. So if you are within the time of, if you are within the years you would be a restricted free agent, you are not eligible for, you have to be a UFA level status of contract and career games played, everything like that, to be eligible for no movement and no trade clauses. So that's why that's not a that's just how the CBA works. So I would imagine if the Stars could, they would give Thomas Harley, if they would have given him a full no move for the entire deal. It's just against this, he would not have been allowed to get those under how the CBA works, because you have to reach your UFA status.
That's a great tidbit.
Wise.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
So,
that's why you're the expert on this show. Let's move to Jason Robertson. As far as, it's interesting. I tell people that you have to look at these things like a real estate broker and what is the market telling you, and then compare. And I think it was pretty interesting, the Marty Necas contract that just came down. So you had two in the Central Division. You had Logan Cooley at $10 million, and then you had Martin Necas, 8 years, $11.5 million. 7 out of the 8 years, no movement clause. Me personally, Sean, I put that window of Robertson now between 10.5 and 11.5 as far as where I think the Stars would like to be in that range. I'm not sure about Robertson's camp.
Yeah, that's the good question. Is it's the Stars want to keep Robertson. Let's establish that right away. Okay, the Stars want to keep Jason Robertson. And I've covered this and written about this, but when they were quote unquote shopping him, it wasn't the way that a lot of people wanted to try to run with it. It was more so they were just taking the calls to kind of get the idea of what the player's market value is. And so I know in an ideal world, I mean, the market is really fascinating right now, because you have the internal Stars deal with Mikko Rantanen make $12.5 million. Or with the $12 million for Mikko Rantanen, and then Marty Necas just made $11.5 with Colorado, which is a fascinating another thing that's going to lead to some hot takes, I think, between Dallas and Colorado people that are not going to be entirely true, one way or the other. That's a place where there's been some a lot of people throwing crud against the wall and seeing what sticks when it comes to their ways they talk about it.
Yeah, with
Robertson. The reality is, I think the Stars, he fits as part of the Stars if he is, I think he fits for you up to about $13 million per year. I think from a Stars perspective, right? Like I think if you're sitting in Jim Nill's office and you're Mark Jenko and you're looking at what we need to do and here's this, how this works and that works and everything, I think you can say, what is the most we can pay him that still allows us to not hinder our other long-term plans? And I think that's about 13.5 million at most, honestly, for the Stars. Because if they do that, like say they were to sign Robertson for 13 million, they would still have about 4 million left to sign. If Jamie Benn is not retired, they could re-sign Jamie Benn. They could to also re-sign a Nils Lundqvist and re-sign a couple other depth players. And I know the and Gavin, this is a really good question that I don't know the answer to. It's just something to think about. From the Stars' perspective, Thomas Harley just took a little bit below market rate. Wyatt Johnston, Mikko Rantanen, Rope Hintz, Jake Ottinger, they're all getting paid. Let's not pretend they're not getting paid, but they all are. They're not getting paid the money of what they probably could in some lesser situations. And if you're the Stars, and it's a fair discussion you have to have, if Jason Robertson is going to come and say, I'm only signing for $14.5 million, just let's say that's a hard line for Jason Robertson. It's not that Jason Robertson isn't a $14.5 million player.
Correct.
But if you are the Stars and you have built this culture and ethos or whatever you want to call it, right? Which you have, right? It's very similar. You've done a really good job. The Stars have done a really good job to doing what the two teams in Florida have done, what the Lightning and the Panthers have done, where they've gotten, they don't have the cups like those two, but they've got a good job where they've got their cores taken some less money to stick together in a tax-free state and everything like that. And before someone from Toronto comes and tries to throttle me through the microphone, but if Jason Robertson says I'm a $14.5 million player, take it or leave it, does that fit with the ethos of what you want to do as the Stars? And that becomes the fascinating question. Like, I mean, Gavin, you're in a spot where, right, like it's the whole, like think about it from your perspective. You build a team over at the Fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you build a team, and obviously we're not talking about any of your hosts' salaries or anything like that. But at some point, you have to stick with the culture of your organization, right? Like
Yes.
if somebody says, "Hey, I can't," if somebody goes and if someone doesn't fit with the culture for what you're trying to do, you have to make a tough choice whether they're good at their job or not, right? Like that's something that I think people have to think about with this whole Robertson thing of what is his hard line and how hard is it, right? Like this is a very fascinating space.
It is.
I want to be clear on that. So
yeah, I think the other interesting thing, and it's okay to talk about this, and people have to understand it's not a knock against Jason Robertson. Like I was thinking to myself the other day and brought it up on the podcast because I thought about it. So why not bring it up? Do I want Jason Robertson at $12 million, or do I want what I feel are really good contributors for depth pieces at $6 million each? Or, 4 and 7, or you add it up. And that's something too. And that's not a knock on Jason Robertson, because he's going to get his bag somewhere. It's just about what's best for your team. And Jason Robertson is a really good fit here in Dallas. And, I hope that him and his camp realize that.
Yeah. And it's, the other thing about it too is I think Jason has knowing a bit about Jason Robertson and the family and everything like that. It's going to be interesting to me to see who is actually driving the negotiation. And let me explain that. Is it Jason Robertson driving the negotiation because this is where he wants to be, and him telling his agent, he's a CAA client, and him telling CAA, this is where I want to be, make it happen? Or there are times where the agent goes and overplays their hand or realizes that, hey, I represent a large swath of NHL players. More money going to client A is going to help me with client B and comparables and everything like that. So I am legitimately fascinated to see how this goes with the agency and the players, because like Gavin, let me go back a little bit here. Like something I've heard in the aftermath of and we were talking about so the Natchez deal is obviously going to make all these people like it's once deals are signed, it becomes easy to look at things that people are like, oh my God, they picked Marty Natchez for $500,000 less over Mikko Rantanen, right? Well, did they? That's not really like that.
Right.
That's kind of like, it's easy to go and it's able to go and like be like, oh my gosh, we can have, at the end of the day, that was the end result. But I don't think Rantanen, I mean, I think part of the reason Rantanen signed for the $12 million he signed with Dallas was there was a little bit of that state income tax there. There was a bit of that. I think it's okay to admit that. I also think there was the other thing that's about the whole Colorado thing that I don't think enough people have talked about, and just people have gotten lost in and everything like that. And like, I got annoyed the other day. Like, there was a interview on like Spin Chicklets had Gene Michael Lyles on the other
Yes.
day, and it was a going through it was a retelling of it and saying things that have been just flat out been completely just um
Dispelled.
proven wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, dispelled by literally by Carolina GM Eric Tulsky, right? Like it's and so I think what happened in Colorado, and the thing that my read on this whole situation, and this is how this will connect to Robertson, I really think Rantanen's agent misplayed his hand in the Colorado situation. I really think that there was probably a little bit too much aggressiveness in negotiation and assertiveness in the between Andy Scott, who is Rantanen's agent, and also Wyatt Johnson and Thomas Harley's agent. He's got a pretty good. It'd be nice to be his realtor right now too,
Yeah.
Gavin. But I get the read that Andy Scott kind of misplayed his hand for Rantanen with Colorado, because Rantanen wanted to stay in Colorado for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that it was a little bit more of the agent being overplaying a stricter position that led to that trade to Carolina in the first place. And it was it ended up being, and that's why the double trade ended up, part of the reason the double trade ended up happening, because if there was a bit of a softer stance from the agent that matched the player's want, I don't think Mikko Rantanen ever leaves Colorado, right? Like,
right.
I think he probably would have signed for 12 or 12 and a half before July 1st with the Avalanche, and he'd be there for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
So, so to bring that back to Jason Robertson, who's going to drive? Who is going to drive this, and who is going to be? Is it going to be? And what does Robertson really want? And that's the other great question. Does Jason Robertson want to be a Dallas Star? Or and two things can be true, right? Is being a Dallas Star important to Jason Robertson? Like, of course it is right now. It's the team he's on right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to impact how he plays this season. He wants to win and everything like that. But so, is being in Dallas important to Jason Robertson and being a member of the Stars important? Or is it just being a high-paid NHL goal scorer? Those are both two different, like, both those are fine mentalities in life, right? The most important goal in Stars franchise history was scored by a guy who just wanted to be a high-paid NHL goal scorer, Brett Hull, right?
Yep.
So if you're like this whole thing with this whole Robertson Stars thing is going to come down to Jason Robertson going to have to look himself in the mirror and decide, do I want to be a Dallas Star, or do I want to get the most I can? And then it's going to come down to, once that decision's been made, then it's going to be if the agent plays it the right way.
Yeah.
That's going to be so.
Well, I'll also add this for Stars fans out there. It's okay to say all three teams won in this whole Mikko Rantanen situation. Obviously, Stars fans love Mikko Rantanen, but don't sleep on Colorado. I mean, a 26-year-old in Marty Necas. And the funny thing is like, people forget Jack Drury was a part of that. He's playing third-line center right now, so he's a third or fourth-line player. The bottom line is he is in the forward mix for them. They also got a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick, and we know the haul that Carolina got from Dallas. So I think all three teams benefited for this. Okay. Interesting question. I got a couple of quickies before we let you go.
Yeah.
We truly appreciate you joining us. So last night there was a reviewable, it was called No Goal on the Ice, big moment in the game, and then it was reviewed and then called a goal on the ice. The view that we were receiving from TNT, I personally did not see 100% that it should be overturned. My question is whether or not it should have been a goal. My question is, does Toronto have another angle from your knowledge that maybe we don't see?
Yeah, there's a couple angles that there's not a ton, but there are. From my understanding, the War Room has a couple other angles that aren't available to the broadcast booth, right? Just like there are angles that NHL video rooms have access to, like team video
Sure.
rooms have access to, that are not just readily available to the broadcast booth. Like for me, one of the most notable ones is there is a and sometimes some teams share with the broadcast booth, sometimes they don't. But like for example, a lot of teams have I guess the best equivalent I can call it is like an all 22 cam in football, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like the over the top where you can like there's a lot of teams have those access to those things too. That's just an example of it. Obviously, that wouldn't be the best example on this one, but yes. So yes, Toronto has access to things that we do not get on the broadcast, and also the other thing is, and I think TNT does a better job than ESPN does when it comes to hockey production. I just think that's a reality that we can call out. There's also the element of there's only so much time to show us so much that they have too, right? Like that's the just from a television production standpoint. It's, I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves with hockey, Gavin, is the fact that the NHL has this rule where we have to, from goal to following puck drop, it's 35 seconds, right? So we don't have so like that's why we don't get nearly enough replays on goals in general.
Interesting. I didn't know that rule.
Because it's so it goes from goal to puck drop, from goal to center ice puck drop, it's 35 seconds. So that's why we don't get that's why we don't get all the replays. That's why you get just the quick thing and it's right back to the game. And like, I really wish that, like, I'm a big soccer guy and I watch the Premier League every weekend and everything like that. You watch a Premier League game, a goal is scored, you get the fan shot, you get the emotion, and then you get the couple replays because you get the time to actually just to live in the moment. Like, goals are so rare in the sport and goals are so rare in hockey. Like, let's live in the moment and celebrate them. Like, I think from an NHL perspective, I think it's a rule that disservices the viewer, because with that 35-second rule, right, you can go, a good example of this is on Tuesday night, during Frozen Frenzy and everything like that. We were watching a couple games. Me and a couple friends were watching a couple games over at a place that had a golf simulator near me, and we're playing at the golf simulator. We're watching hockey. It was an awesome Tuesday night, but it was one where you go and somebody went to go like grab a drink at the bar or whatever and came back. And I think it was the Detroit game, and they're like, wait, I missed a whole goal, like, and just because of like and they were gone for like a minute, but they missed the goal, they missed the 35-second replay, and they missed everything, right? Like I think from a product standpoint, the NHL needs to the NHL needs to change that rule. So that's another random spot here.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, obviously, we know the Stars have a lot of injuries, but there are so many injuries throughout the league, more and more players going down. And I'm wondering, with the Olympic break and the condensed schedule, have you heard any chatter about, or do people just think this happens to be a coincidence, or are people like, this is tough condensing all these games?
Yeah, I mean, it's why they got rid of that send-off event that they were going to do in New York, and they were going to do like an Olympic send-off event and all of that thing, and so that's why they got rid of that. It's kind of the schedule is kind of a necessary evil, I guess, of what happens with taking time off for the Olympics and everything like that. And I don't know if, right, like I don't know what would there be I don't know. Let me throw this random idea at you, Gavin.
Okay.
Just tell me.
I love random ideas.
Is it crazy if you were to do would it be crazy? Because yes, there's a lot of NHL players going to the Olympics and everything like that, right? It's a good amount. But you don't need, like, you're taking the 2.5 week break, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 2.5 week break for the Olympics. Do you need to take the entire Olympics as a break? Like in theory, and I think you'd have to just like you'd have to come to an agreement with the PA, and you'd have to give like a salary. You'd have to like give teams. You'd have to be smart and figure it out. We'd have to be creative. We have to brainstorm this out and like how you. But at the end of the day, if you only did an Olympic break for 8-9 days of it, right? So hey, just through group stage, just cover the group stage of games. And so, yes, you would. Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid might miss an NHL game because they're playing for Team Canada, right? Or Thomas Harley might miss an NHL game because they're playing for Team Canada. But you could get the NHL schedule by that time. When you're talking about, by that time, you're talking about the knockout stage, and you're talking about the say the four teams in the semifinals. Do my rough math of say that's 80. That's roughly 90 NHLers, right? This is a league with over what's 32 times 23, so it's a number I can't do in my math. Yeah. But like, do we really need to miss an additional week for less than 3% of the league not being there? I know it's some of the best players. But that's one of the spots where you could be like, well, it's good. Yeah. All right. Well, Pittsburgh's not going to have Sidney Crosby for that game
right,
because Canada's in the gold medal game, or Team USA is not going to have Jake Ottinger because USA's doing their. Would that game be rough and everything? But would you, as an owner, take that trade-off for the wear and tear on your players? Again, this is literally something I've thought about in the last 10 minutes, like what we just talked about. So
I like it. I'm even to the point where I'm like, and no one will like this except me because I geek out and you geek out on hockey. Like I'm more and more thinking like, do we bring back the amateur in the Olympics? But I mean, I know that it's good to have these guys featured on a world stage. It's good for the sport, obviously, 4 nations and now the Olympics. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but at what cost?
Yeah, I think we've jumped the shark on all sports on amateurs and the Olympics.
Yes.
I think we've jumped the shark too far on all of that to kind of to go there. I mean, I do think there is a like this is what's it's very important to players to represent their country, right? Like it's that important. But it's also at the end of the day. And I want to be very. I like Olympic hockey. I think it's great and everything, but I am not and call me crazy for saying this. I am not one of the people who believes Olympic hockey raises the profile of the NHL. I am not one of those people who believes that, because I think Olympic hockey helps in other countries, other hockeys where the sport's trying to develop, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've spoken to Mo Seider, the German defenseman for the Red Wings, quite a bit about how watching Olympic hockey, but World Championships also matter. Look at what happened when Latvia got that bronze medal at Worlds. Like, look how that country went crazy in Riga, right? And I go back to this, Gavin. I'm assuming when the Olympics were going on, you watched a lot of American swimming, and you watched a lot of right? Like just like, or like when Michael Phelps was at the, like you watched a lot of that, right?
Yeah, I watched some of it. Yeah.
No, but there's a lot of people who, this is where my point goes. Like Michael Phelps, one of the most popular athletes in the world, right? Swimming and everything like that. How many of you watched a single swim race?
Yeah.
Between those 4 years, right?
Gymnastics the same.
Exactly. And that's my point, where it's like the whole like Olympic sports, I don't think raise the profile of their respective leagues where the sport's already established. So like I think the whole NFL flag football thing with the Olympics, right? Like that's something where there's nothing about there's no benefit to the NFL of having flag football in the Olympics in the United States or anywhere in North America, right?
Yeah.
Just like football it's not going to make football any bigger,
Right?
But maybe it helps build, because you're doing it as a separate sport as flag football. Maybe it helps launch that product a little bit more around the world or something like that. But it's not like this whole kind of, I don't know. People are going to tell me I'm stupid, and I'm fine with that. But I see 26.5 million people watch the USA-Canada women's gold medal game for the Olympics in hockey, right?
Yeah.
26.5 million people. I have yet to see, and I want to be very clear. I'm very happy with what the PWHL is and everything like that. But you can't go and cherry pick. Oh my God, there's 26.5 million people that are going to watch women's hockey.
Right.
And I think that's the problem where we kind of lost in these narratives. So, anywho, I think the Olympics are they should be. I think NHL players should be there. It should be best on best competition. I'm all for that. I also understand, and I don't fully believe that. I don't believe that having NHL players there all of a sudden makes the NHL raises the NHL profile the way people want to say it does. It helps a little bit. Let's be clear on that. It does help a little bit.
Yeah,
but
sells merch too.
It doesn't do the same thing. People are like, it doesn't do the thing that a lot of people want to be like, oh my God, you're holding back your sport by not having players there.
Right.
So it's a nuanced conversation.
I know. I agree. And by the way, for those that we forget, the Miracle on Ice, none were pros. They were pros for the CCCP or the Soviet Union, but not the Olympic team. So, and that's where the stories came from. So it is, it's fascinating. Well, listen, a great idea if you're thinking like, how can I get creative for birthdays or Christmas or Hanukkah, and you want to get one of your loved ones. If they're a hockey fan, just subscribe them to Shap Shots. It's really, really cool. Sean Shapiro's Substack page. I can tell you, I get so much information, deep dive, some great articles, his opinions, as well as some analytics. It is absolutely terrific. You hear him on this program every single week, and the information he gives, double or triple on his Shap Shot page. Obviously, he also works for Elite Prospects, D Magazine, at Sean Shapiro on Twitter. Thank you, my friend. Enjoy Halloween with the kiddos. I know these years are precious, so I'm super glad that you're going to be out and about today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We will, kids are excited. They had a half day of school today, so after we're done recording and head downstairs and helped out with the classroom party this morning. So we are proud of my kid for the classroom party. I was running the snack station, and my kid was one of the few that also still took the vegetables on the plate. So we are, but she said she was low, but it also came with a warning where she said, Dad, I'm loading up for tonight. So,
oh, you got to watch out. That's a smart one right there.
Yeah. She's a bit too smart for my own good. So,
oh, wow. You've taught them well. That is a great way to end it. Thank you so much, Sean. We'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good, Gavin. Always fun.
That is the greatness of Sean Shapiro. Please support him in all of his efforts. That's going to do it for another edition of Spits and Suds. We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, hey, everyone, have a great Halloween and a great day.